Welcome to Book Crew. We are on KCCC 930 in Carlsbad, New Mexico on Mondays at noon. We're available on YouTube under the Task Force Geek banner. And by the time you hear this, we'll be on every major podcast aggregator out there. I'm writer and marketing Jedi Dirk Hooper, and I'm joined as always by author and editor Beth A. Freely. How you doing, Beth?
I'm doing good, Dirk. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm hanging in there.
That's good.
Let me tell you, my big thing that I've been dealing with and things that I've feverishly talked to you about is whether I'm going to go wide with my next book. I'm so close. I'm like literally maybe hours from loading stuff up to the internet. And the big question that I've had is, do I go wide or do I not go wide? And
Did you make a decision?
I made a decision.
All right.
And the decision is I'm going wide. And,
all right.
And the reason for that is many different things, but lately the political climate has created a situation where people are boycotting Amazon for whatever reason. And that may or may not affect me, but I went and looked at my numbers and what do you know? It affected me. On the times when they had the boycotts, I had zero reads, over that week and then earlier. And the issue is that was about 10 days ago, and there are some reads, but it certainly hasn't recovered to the pre-boycott level, which means to me, it seems like Amazon is not feeding the numbers that it was even a year ago. Well, I looked at my all-time numbers. I showed those to you, Beth. And it seemed like there were, if you look at the graph, something happened in 2019 where I was going up, and then it started going down again. And then it happened again in 2024. Again, I kind of dipped down a little bit and it started going up again, up, and then it hit 2024, which was last year. It has nothing to do with the boycott. My numbers started going down again. And so this latest boycott thing and people deciding, I don't know if I'm going to be buying stuff from Amazon or not. That's that might be another dip, like a dip on the dip. Hopefully that's not the case. But in any case, I can't put all of my eggs in the Amazon basket anymore.
Yep.
Now that may not be the case with other stuff, but the stuff that I write, which is erotica, the crowd that reads that are the people who are doing the boycotts. There's no doubt about it. Because I can look at
the ones on Amazon.
My numbers. Yeah, I can look at my numbers and I can tell. So I've been reading a book, and I want to. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. You first.
Oh, I wanted to say I was reading a book called "Wide for the Win" by Mark Leslie Lefebvre, and that's something that I've been reading all the way coming up to. I mean, I only have one book out, folks. So I'm about to release my second book. It's a big deal to me. So,
well, any book release is a big deal regardless.
Of course. But, it's been a while. And so I just want to do the right thing. And, I wish that I'd kind of made this decision with the first book, to be honest with you, because kind of unwinding some of the things I've done with the first book are going to be problematic. But I would like to, if anyone is, and I want to have a panel on this, but if anyone is considering, do I want to go wide? And by the way, if you don't know, wide doesn't mean that you're on, you're selling book on different platforms. Wide in this context means one thing. Are you in the Kindle Unlimited program where people can read your stuff for free, or are you not? And if you are, then you get paid for page reads, and Kindle Amazon gives you a few extra powers, promotional wise and whatever. If you're not on that, then you can present your ebooks anywhere you want to. That's the only difference. I was getting good page reads over time. I showed the numbers to Beth. They're pretty damn good.
They were basically good. Yeah, they were.
Yeah. I mean, particularly about 5 years ago, they were super great. And then they've been kind of steadily going down since then. Mind you, that's an old book. I mean, it's not a brand new book if I just released the book. But I did re-release the book last year with a new cover and a bunch of extra information in it. And it's still going down. So I can't if I'm going to be an independent author, I have to be able to reach as many people as possible. So anyway, I have decided I'm going wide.
Good. Okay. I'm glad you made that decision as far as, what you feel is right for you. And I'm glad we talked about it. I know since we talked about it the other day, I had those 3 book purchases. As of today, I have 109 reads, which I didn't have 2-3 days ago. Okay. So it looks like it's starting to come back up a little bit.
Good.
But I have a handful of books on KDP, and the shared worlds that I'm involved in, those are the only ones I have on KDP. I did look at my Ingram numbers though. And, from the other day, I've had another 4 purchases on Ingram. Now, Ingram Spark, I do wide. Good. Yeah. And of course, 2 of the books were Dorian and 2 of the books were Taming the Rancher's Daughter. So
that's a surprise hit.
It is. And it's the ebook sales on Taming the Rancher's Daughters that's getting the hits. So I'm not complaining whatsoever.
Yeah.
But Amazon keep changing their algorithms. They keep changing how they're paying independent authors. And man, I'm with you. I cannot in good conscience put all my eggs in one basket with Amazon KDP and Kindle Unlimited. I just can't do it. I just don't. I have a following. I've been doing this for 20 years. I have a following, but it's not, most of the people who do buy my books, they're buying it from Barnes & Noble or someplace else. They're not just relying on Amazon. So I really do think independent authors need to do their research, really figure out what is going to work for them. I do know a couple of authors that have done great with Amazon, but I haven't talked to them since the ban, so I don't know how their page reads are going.
That's the thing, is we're in kind of a...
We're in limbo right now. We really are in limbo. Plus, we've got other political things going on, where they're wanting to ban books, where they're talking about, banning anything that's considered porn, which includes romance novels.
Yes.
So not only are the indie authors being cautious, we have readers being cautious as well. And it's a really interesting climate for authors right now, especially indie authors that don't have the backup of a publishing house.
I want to get our guests in here, but I really think that we need to have
guests today.
I really think that we need to have maybe a roundtable where we talk about this and hopefully sometime soon.
Hey, if you're listening out there or watching this video and you want to talk about what is going on with Amazon and how it's affecting you as an indie author, please reach out to Dirk or I so that we know that you want to come on. We will have you come on. We will blow this out of the water and talk about what's going on.
Spell out your email address that you have.
Email me at BRAUCH@THEMUSESFUNHOUSE.com. That's broush@themusesfunhouse.com. That is my business email. Email me. Let me know you want to be on the show and talk about Amazon in a panel situation, and we will get you on the show in a panel so that we can give all of our indie authors out there, no matter if you're just starting out or if you've been in the business for 20 years, the information they need and, some things to think about when it comes to whether you want to go wide or just stick with Amazon.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get to our feature interview.
Yes.
We will talk about this subject many times in the future. All Things Blissful is owned and operated by Kris Riley. Kris has been involved in the indie book world since 2015. She started out as a book influencer, reading and reviewing any book she could get her hands on. Kris then dipped her toes into the street team arena. I can't wait to ask about that, helping her favorite authors get more eyes on their book babies. In November of 2018, Kris founded Blissful Services, recently having rebranded due to combining her love for swag, book talk, and being a PA all into one and renaming her business All Things Blissful. Over the years, Kris has had the amazing opportunity to work with many talented authors to help bring their dreams to fruition, all the while living out her own dreams. Joe is the co-pilot of All Things Blissful, born and raised in Podunk, Iowa, now calls less Podunk, Oklahoma home, as do I. He has worked for the city for 10 years. He is an avid reader, pop culture enthusiast, as am I, as is Beth.
As am I. As am yes.
and music lover. You can generally find Joe with his AirPods in, chasing after Kris. Welcome, both Kris and Joe, to Book Crew.
Hi.
Hey, guys.
How are you doing there in beautiful downtown Chakotah?
We're doing good. It's a little warm today. Not
it
used
is.
to that after all the wind.
Yeah.
Somebody dropped the cord from Mother Nature because the weather's been all over the place.
It has been crazy. Well, Kris, tell us about starting out as a book influencer in 2015.
Well, I started my blog in 2015. I'd actually been reviewing for a couple months before that. And I honestly started my Blissful Books, my blog at the time, just because I wanted to talk about books. No one around me read, nobody talked. It was basically me just throwing my words out to the void. And if anybody read it, they read it. And then slowly from that, some of the authors started reaching, wanting me to read them and, help promote, which is to street teams. And that street team experience ended up with me being the PA for that author. And then,
oh wow,
I ended up taking 2-3 years sabbatical from everything because we lost my father, my nephew, and my father-in-law in 4 months. And
wow,
nothing was fun. I needed to step away.
Sure.
And then whenever I came back to Blissful Services, I went full stream ahead. And now I've turned it into everything that it slowly became.
Right. Well, what it became is All Things Blissful.
Yeah.
And tell us what All Things Blissful is.
All Things Blissful is I do swag, I do PAing, and book talk. I love to talk about books. I love to spread that reading is knowledge. And if there's one thing nobody can take from you, it's your education, it's your knowledge.
Yes,
the only one who can take that from you is you. So, that's just to talk about books. That's how it started. And when no one around me was reading like I was reading or reading what I was reading, I had to find a community that was. And I slowly found that on Facebook and grew from there. I got very blessed with the authors that I have reached out and I've worked with. I've worked with some amazing authors. I've helped them get their orange ribbons from Amazon. I've been beside them when they got the USA Today best-selling authors, and some of them I have been with since they started. I have a friend started her author journey the same exact day that I started my blogging journey. And I was her first reviewer. She was the first author that ever came and asked me, hey, do you mind reading this?
You've had a few authors come up and say you were their first reviewer.
Yeah, I guess I've been in quite a few for, their first review. But it just came from my love of reading. I've always loved to read, and I love spreading that. And
that's awesome.
What genres do you read?
I'll be honest. From 2018 till now has probably been straight up paranormal or romantasy. And I don't even need the romance in it. I need a good story with dragons and witches and just take me totally away from everything.
Well, how long?
Go ahead.
How long has romantasy been a thing?
They've only called it romantasy for like a couple years now.
I'm not even sure it's been a couple of years, and maybe a year.
I mean, that's really super recent, isn't it?
It's fairly recent, yeah.
It's been very short, and to me, It's, I'll be honest,
But it couldn't be more
I-
hot.
I'll be honest,
But it couldn't be more
I-
hot. I mean, it's the
yes, it is
the
thing
genre right now.
It is.
Which I get it.
Well,
You
if
know.
you stop, you stop and think about it. I mean, romanticy actually, in its own weird way, goes all the way back to Tolkien. I mean,
Yes.
Arwen and Aragorn.
Sure.
They're,
Sure. Yeah.
yeah, that's one of the
But
that's one of
nobody
the
calls
best.
it romanticy simply
No,
because
they,
it was epic. It was an epic adventure, and
yep.
then there was a little bit of romance, and that's kind of how I see romance is I've got to have that story. I've got to have that plot. There's a romance within it, great. But I really got to have that world building.
Yeah,
in
But
it.
I'd just be kind of an outsider looking in at the romance industry. There's kind of a taboo a lot of readers get with romance. I don't think they fully understand. There's a plot line behind it too.
But
I
to
think
me,
Yeah,
need
there
to be
is.
old
There is.
dime store romance novels with
Right.
Fabio on the cover.
Fabio.
Sure. I mean, romance is right. Romance has
But I think I got
developed
from
quite a bit
Inherit, so.
in the last
Yeah.
10, 15 years too. For
Yeah.
sure.
It has.
And has expanded. And honestly, self-publishing is a big part of that.
It
Right.
is. It is. It really is. When I first got back into reading after taking like years off from reading, I found like Abby Glines and Tamara Weber and Colleen Hoover. Those are who first started getting me back
Mhm.
into reading. But I have honestly moved on from them. A lot of their stuff now, I look back and I'm like, I'm thankful I had it during that time because it brought me back my love, but
Right.
I just,
Yeah.
my tastes have changed so much. And now whenever you hear someone say, read romance, it gets a snare, or I write romance. And I'm like, they're like, well, people look down on me when I say I write romance. Say it louder.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, yeah.
Say it louder. People.
Say
So
it louder.
I've run into that where people are like, "Oh, you write romance?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "But read my logo. Romance, but so much more." I tell people, I said, "My books are romance novels, yes, but my books have typically a deep storyline. It's not just about the romance. There's a lot more to it. It's not just about the smut, because that's what people think a lot of times. Oh my God, you write romance, you write smut. No. I write romance novels. I write books with plots and world building and at least just one sex scene that's not, my sex scenes usually range between a 2 and a 3 on a 5-point scale. I've read some that go over 5, but
I've read a few on the
mine
internet.
have, huh?
I've read a few on the
I
internet
missed-
that were probably 5.
Yeah.
If you go
Yeah.
into our reader group and look through our old lives, you'll find ones where his face is bright red. He can barely utter the word. And everybody, that's what,
It became between authors to see who could come up with something worse for me to read.
yeah.
We had of stuff I wouldn't read, but
We had authors that like literally releasing their book and they're like, Kris, you gotta have Joe read this. I want to see his face. Because we do it live, and we had a live show for a good year or so, right before COVID hit and everybody quit going online for some reason, even though we're stuck in the house. But we would go live and we would have 50, 60, 70 people in our group laughing at Joe. That's why they came.
Yeah.
We had hashtag poor Joe, because it was always a thing to see how red we could get him to go. And he has the mentality of a 12-year-old boy when he's reading these scenes. And
The mentality of a 12-year-old boy when I write them.
That's the fun part for us, is because while we're reading them, we always ask the authors to come in. We never have read where the author was not there. And we would tell them up front, we will laugh, we will joke, even during the most serious scenes, because that's who we are.
Yep.
And he would say, some bodily words, and his face would go red, and he'd start laughing.
Yeah, there's certain words I couldn't get through. And I always wanted the authors to know I'm not making fun of what you wrote in the sense of how it's wrote. It's just what it is. You know what I mean?
But, you know, that was one of our ways of being able to spread the word of those authors, who they were. You know, we used to do a spotlight author once, I think it was once a week, and I would write out, I mean,
we started once a week, then we went to once a month.
Yeah, because it just became too much. But I would write out 10 questions for them to put, you know, and they weren't your, how did you start reading? You know, how did you do this? It was, you know, why have you chosen certain course? You know, why, how did this affect you in your life? You know, and I tried to get deeper into it than your typical, do you write, you know, romance? What John, you know, everybody knows stuff. You can find that out looking on the bio.
We'd avoid questions like, who's your favorite character that you wrote? I mean, we throw some of them in, but that's not the jokes of the
meat of the.
Yeah, the whole.
I couldn't even
interview.
I couldn't even answer that. I couldn't even answer that simply because I love all my characers.
Well, we were trying to avoid what they got asked all the time.
Yeah,
and I have to give Kris credit. She would do her research on, you know, who she's. If she wasn't familiar with the author, she'd do her research and come up with really good questions.
But that was the other thing, is a lot of the people that we put out there, we didn't know personally. They weren't friends of ours. They were authors that were, you know, we did a sign up. If you want to be spotlighted, sign up. It was first come, first serve. You know, we have never handpicked who we think we should be putting out there. If you're a new author, we want help you get out there. We want you to get views.
It didn't even have to be limited, you know, to one genre. It wasn't even just romance exclusive. It was just whatever you write. Like, yeah, I don't read romance. I'm an biography, you know, history. That's what I can't read. I listen to because I drive a lot. But, you know, it was whatever you wrote.
It's just getting their voices out there.
Right.
Yep.
Because a lot of, for me as a PA, my thing is with authors, whether they be new or established, they all started somewhere. And if you treat a new author like they're beneath an established author, you may take away their will to even want to write that. You know, if you can sit there and you don't have to love what they write, but you don't have to crap on it either. You know, that being an author takes so much guts and bravery, because you are literally putting your heart and soul and everything into those words, and being vulnerable enough to have somebody that does not yet know you, does not know your experience, read that and interpret it. And they may interpret it totally different than what you meant, but you're willing to say, here it is, here's everything of me. And you don't ever know if that's going to be good criticism, bad criticism. And there is a way to deliver bad criticism constructively, where an author doesn't feel like they have just had a gut punch.
Right.
You know, but sadly, book influencers have lost that. And they have lost the being able to go to an author and say, hey, you know, you might want to tweak this because it's just not going to hit right. You know, instead they take to Facebook, TikTok, and just, they did this.
They bash them. They bash the author.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And my heart breaks, because I know many authors who literally walked away because of that. You know,
we've watched a lot walk away.
As an editor, I have actually pulled back 2 authors who wanted to walk away. They came to me with their books and they said, this is what the other editor told me. This is what I'm hearing. I don't know what to do. what do you suggest? And I've worked with these authors and have kept them from walking away, because there are editors out there that have also forgotten exactly what you said, how to deliver the criticism without gut punching their authors. And having influencers that understand that, and editors who understand that there is a proper way to do this and you're supposed to work with your author, that makes a big difference.
Well, even as a street team member, or a PA or any of that, how you talk to other people really is going to reflect how they're going to do. If you're sitting there and all you hear in your head, because we all know that imposter syndrome is live and real.
Oh, yeah.
You suck. Why are you doing this? You could, you should be doing. And then have somebody else reiterate those words to you. What are you going to do? You've already got the biggest critic you're ever going to have, which is yourself.
Sure.
And then you have the outside world just compounding that. Whereas instead saying, hey, why don't you look up other words that, mean the same thing, because you're kind of repeating. There's ways of doing that as a beta reader, as an alpha reader, as a regular reader, of saying, hey, this kind of, a little bit of work here. I have had authors come and decide that they're going to walk away because they've seen other people take ideas that they've had even for the marketing and for their group, but they didn't brand. I'm huge on branding. If you are branding your work, every little thing that you put up on your Facebook, do not expect it to be there. Watch, it's going to show up in another room and somebody else is going to slap their brand on it.
Yep.
Let me ask some things about. We're kind of running out of time. I want to get some things.
I love the passion about too.
Yeah, I do too.
Love the passion.
Look, yes. I love that you're advocating for authors, but I want to advocate for you for a minute. I got about 3 things. We're going to try to get through these as quick as we can. We're kind of running out of time. Let's talk about swag. You do offer some swag. What do you offer? What do you get requests for, and what works best?
We do everything. We do tumblers, we do buttons, we do keychains, we do t-shirts, coats, character bookmarks, stickers, like here, character bookmark. I had an author ask me, can you make my guy into a bookmark? Now I'm doing character bookmarks.
That's cool. I just did. I unfortunately got rid of the piece of artwork that I had there, but I just had 3 characters that were kind of situated like that. That they would make great bookmarks. That's a really cool idea.
Bookmarks. Show them the vellum, Kris. Well, those
extra vellum.
Yeah.
These are our keychains, which this is just a stock photo that I found. I printed the fabric. It's all cut. Did all that. I don't know if you have any anywhere. I don't know if I have any vellum anywhere.
What works best? I mean, what is the thing that people, when they see it, they go like, oh, I got to have one of those, or that gets shared the most, or whatever. What's the best swag thing?
Bookmarks, keychains, pins, stickers, small things that let's be honest, we go to science, we're carrying a crap ton. So if it's something small they can slip in their pocket,
right?
That works great.
Yeah.
I know some are doing tumblers. We just started doing blankets, like throw blankets with your logo on them.
Do you sell those? You sell blankets?
Yeah.
We also sell stuff that's not necessarily to authors, but also make swag that's just book related.
And we also sell at medical dispos here in Oklahoma. So we're in a 420 culture as well. So that, anything that is out there, I'm going to find out how to do it.
Nice.
We
have a lot coming to.
Yeah, we have laser engraving coming. We have screen printing coming. Ooh. Soon we'll be offering spray edges. I can do foiled edges. I mean,
Are you doing the foiled edges now? Or are you getting set
I'm still
to?
perfecting it.
Okay.
Will not do it until I can send out quality. That is my only thing. Quality over quantity.
We even have flasks.
Yeah, we even have flasks, drinking flasks.
Cool.
We do sample packs where they, for so much, they get 5 different items where they see what it looks like, how it feels, so that they know the quality and not just, hey, give me a bunch of money and you might get what you want.
Let me ask next. Let me ask next about street teams. What in general, I think a lot of people have confusion over what street teams are supposed to do for you. So can you kind of give a general idea of what you ask of street teams, and then maybe some advice on how to create them?
Street teams are supposed to be the ones that are out promoting you. When you have a new release, they should be singing it from the highest mountains. I mean, they should be going, hey, have you read? They're the ones out there spreading the word. And most street teams are not your PA. They're your readers, your followers, the very devout of the devout, you know. They are the ones that have the biggest voice, because if they're real readers of yours, they know your every bit of the story. They're going to be able to say, hey, you should be reading this because of, you know, it goes along with this. And what they do is they go into your promo groups and they promote. They go on all of their social media and shout it out. Some PAs and authors, they'll do like the person who has posted the most, you know, post links, you get a prize. There's different ways of bringing that in, but it's generally your most devout followers. And that's hard at times when you're new to find those people, but as you keep growing, watch who's commenting on your feeds, watch who's, you know, leaving those reviews and leaving those recommendations of your name, because those are who you want on your street team, because they're already doing that job. They're already saying, hey, look at my author, and you're not even their author yet. You know, that's how you build that interest. And my first street team, I knew, crap. I went in just being a reader, and they were like, this is how you do it. And I was running the street within 2 months, you know, and it's just finding those people, having those people go out, and even if it's having them comment on your Facebook, you know, getting into the comments, engaging people, you know. I do it in my reader group. I'll go in and, you know, I'll say, what are you guys reading? I'll go through and I'm asking them questions. What's the genre? You know, how are you liking it? Because even that little bit is getting your name out there more.
Sure.
You know, and it's just that simple. Ask the question, well, how are you liking it? You know, what's your favorite part of it? You know, but street teams can be a brilliant way of getting your name as an author out there if they're ran right. You know, and because but as with any team, you're going to get people that are there for the freebie or, you know, something in it for them.
Yep.
Right.
But when you get your devouts, they're going to be the one buying your book, not asking for that art, you know, or if they get an art, they're still buying a physical copy, you know, and that's who you want to be promoting you, because they're just as passionate about your work as you are.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. Very briefly, what advice do you have for authors who are trying to get their name or book out there?
Remember who your readers are. I don't want to say don't show where your passion lies, because as we know, this political field, you know, that can go both ways.
Yep.
But
be pushy without being overly pushy.
Yeah, be pushy without being overly pushy, you know.
You can also push people away.
But be authentic. Be authentic. Go in and actually try and communicate with your readers. Don't make it where, hey, here's my book that's for sale, and that's it. Because in your reader groups, that's where you're building that community. You need that community. So be authentic, be real. Keep your private life private, though, because sadly, in this world, you can't. We've seen too many people be stalked and all that.
I'm
Keep your
sure.
private life private.
Yeah.
Yep. So.
All right. We're out of time. So let me ask you, where can people find you on both your website and social media?
allthingsblissful.com is our website. We do have a shop coming soon. I just have to get everything input. And then we have our reader group, All Things Blissful, on Facebook. You can. We have a promo group, Blissful Promos. We have swag group, ATB Author Swag, and we're always blissful on all of the other socials.
All right. Is there anything else you want to add before we wrap it up?
No, except for I got to go check out your book now, especially since you got that second one coming out.
You
got to.
I will definitely. I'll do it.
Send me the promo.
All right, I will do it. Yeah, I worked on the blurb today, as a matter of fact.
Just send it my way, and I'll blast it.
Awesome, thank you. That's what I want to hear. That feels so good to hear that from someone.
That's what we need to do, though, is we have to help each other.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's what this community started out doing, and we have to get back to it.
Peter, if you want to help any author, just make sure you're liking their posts, comment. The more interaction they get, the more it gets pushed out there.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And
perfect.
Heart their posts. Their posts.
Yeah.
Doesn't any little interaction with your authors do it.
Kris and Joe, thank you for being on here.
Thank you for having us.
Oh, for sure. I'm so glad you guys decided to come on.
Beth?
I had to do it. I just had to get it.
Beth, tell us where we can find you.
Hey, you can find me at Beth Ann Freely, BethaNneFrelly.com. That's my website if you're looking for my books. You can also find me in the usual social media haunts at BA Freely. You can check out my link tree, BA Freely, and you can also find me at themusesfunhouse.com.
All right. I'm at writeworks.dirkhooper.com. That's DIRKHOOPER. You can find me almost everywhere on the internet at Dirk Hooper. You can also find me at the Muses Funhouse. And my pen name is Asher Lake. So you can find me at asherlake.net. That's it. Before we go, I want to say that Beth A. Freely is offering editing and book trailer services, and I'm offering author branding and social media management at themusesfunhouse.com. Thanks to our guests, Kris Riley and Joe. For Beth A. Freely, I'm Dirk Hooper saying dream hard.
Thanks, guys.